What if the smartest person inside Gilead right now isn't Aunt Lydia, a commander, or even Mayday? What if it's Daisy? Because after watching the Teastament Season 1, Episode 7, one thing becomes crystal clear. Daisy is surviving Gilead not because she's stronger than everyone else, but because she understands the system better than anyone realizes. And while other infiltrators are getting exposed, interrogated, dragged away, and killed, Daisy keeps slipping through the cracks. Quietly.
Carefully. Strategically.
So the big question is, how exactly is Daisy outsmarting the eyes? And could she secretly be the most dangerous undercover operative Mayday has ever sent into Gilead? Let's break it all down. Episode 7 raises the stakes in a massive way. The eyes are closing in. Commander Weston is investigating the bus attack. The Pearl Girls are under suspicion. And suddenly, every undercover operative inside Gilead is at risk. But while panic starts consuming everyone else, Daisy stays composed. Not perfectly calm, of course. You can see the fear on her face. You can feel the pressure building. But unlike the others, Daisy never loses control. And that's important, because survival in Gilead isn't about being fearless. It's about knowing how to perform fear correctly. Daisy understands Gilead better than the other infiltrators. One of the smartest details in Episode 7 is how the show quietly reveals why Daisy is succeeding while others fail. Most infiltrators are pretending to understand Gilead. Daisy actually does. And there's a huge difference. Remember, Daisy isn't just some random Mayday recruit sent across the border. She's a former child of Gilead. That matters. Even though she grew up outside its control later on, part of her identity was shaped by the system itself. Which means Daisy understands something the others don't. How people inside Gilead think, how they speak, how they move, how they suppress emotion, how they survive. That's why her cover story works so well. Because it doesn't feel rehearsed. It feels lived in. And this is exactly why Daisy becomes almost invisible inside Gilead. Not because nobody notices her, but because she gives them exactly what they expect to see. Her backstory is too complete to fall apart. One of the biggest reasons undercover agents get caught is inconsistency. Eventually, the lies stop adding up. But Daisy's operation was built differently. Episode 7 subtly confirms that Mayday, and especially June, prepared her incredibly carefully. She wasn't just given fake documents. She was given an entire identity, a believable emotional history, a personality tailored specifically for survival inside Gilead. And that's the key. Daisy's backstory isn't flashy. It's not dramatic. It's ordinary. And in Gilead, ordinary is safe. That's why nobody immediately suspects her. She doesn't stand out. She doesn't try to be impressive. She doesn't overact. Other infiltrators likely failed because they tried too hard to blend in. Daisy succeeds because she understands invisibility. Daisy knows when to speak and when to stay silent. This is probably her greatest weapon: silence. Throughout Episode 7, Daisy constantly avoids saying more than necessary. When Agnes shows her the trinkets from the outside world, Daisy could easily explain everything. But she doesn't, because Daisy understands something critical. The more details you give people in Gilead, the more dangerous you become. Every sentence is a risk. Every opinion is a clue. Every emotional reaction can expose you. So Daisy carefully controls information, even with Agnes, even when she wants to connect. And honestly, that's probably why she's still alive. But here's where Daisy becomes really dangerous. She's not just surviving interrogation. She's learning from it. She studies the eyes while they study her. Most people fear the eyes. Daisy studies them. Watch her carefully during the interrogations. She pays attention to everything. Commander Weston's tone, the phrasing of questions, the reactions of the ants. Who seems nervous? Who seems suspicious? Who has authority? Daisy realizes something important. The eyes don't actually know who the infiltrator is. They're fishing. That changes everything. Because once Daisy understands that the investigation is built on uncertainty, she stops reacting like someone cornered. Instead, she starts reacting like someone blending into a frightened crowd. And that's genius. Fear itself becomes her cover. This is one of the smartest psychological tricks Daisy uses. She doesn't act fearless. That would look suspicious. Instead, she behaves exactly how an innocent girl inside Gilead would behave.
Scared.
Quiet. Careful. That's why she survives while another girl gets dragged away screaming. Because Daisy understands performance. And in Gilead, survival is performance. Everybody is acting all the time. The wives act obedient. The commanders act righteous. The aunts act holy. The Pearl girls act pure. And Daisy acts vulnerable. But underneath that performance, she's constantly calculating. Her connection to Agnes is secretly protecting her. Now, this part is really interesting. Agnes may not realize it, but her growing friendship with Daisy is helping keep Daisy safe.
Why?
Because Agnes belongs to one of the powerful families in Gilead. Social proximity matters. If Agnes trusts Daisy, others become less likely to question her. Especially since Agnes herself appears so sheltered and naive. Nobody expects someone like Agnes to unknowingly protect an infiltrator. And Daisy understands this immediately. That's why she handles Agnes so carefully. She never pushes too hard. Never tries to radicalize her openly. Never exposes too much. She lets Agnes come to conclusions naturally, which is exactly what a smart undercover operative would do. But there's another reason Daisy is surviving that nobody is talking about. The eyes are looking for the wrong kind of rebel. Gilead expects rebellion to look loud. This is one of the biggest themes of Episode 7. Gilead expects resistance to look dramatic, explosive, aggressive, emotional. That's why public rebellion gets crushed so quickly. But Daisy's rebellion is different. It's patient, controlled, invisible. She doesn't challenge authority directly. She adapts to it, uses it, moves within it. And because of that, she becomes harder to detect. Think about it. The girls getting caught are often the ones panicking, running, breaking composure, trying desperately to escape.
Daisy never does that.
Even when she's terrified, she understands that survival inside Gilead depends on discipline. And honestly, that makes her scarier than the obvious rebels. Daisy also benefits from people underestimating her. This is another massive advantage. Many people inside Gilead see Daisy as harmless, young, quiet, passive. And Gilead has always underestimated young women. That's part of its weakness. The system assumes girls should obey, not scheme, which creates blind spots. And Daisy exploits those blind spots perfectly. Commander Weston likely suspects that someone is hiding something. But Daisy doesn't fit his image of a threat. At least not yet. And that allows her to stay one step ahead. But there's one person who could completely destroy Daisy's cover. And it's not Commander Weston. It's Garth. Garth is both her greatest ally and biggest risk. Episode 7 quietly reminds us how dangerous Daisy's relationship with Garth actually is. Because Garth knows who she really is. Which means every interaction between them carries enormous tension. One mistake, one emotional reaction, one suspicious glance. That's all it could take. And the scary part? Daisy didn't even know Garth was her handler at first. She was thrown into this mission with incomplete information, which makes her survival even more impressive. But Garth also creates complications, especially because of Agnes and Becca. The emotional dynamics around him are getting messy. And emotional messiness is dangerous for undercover operations, because emotions make people careless. Agnes may unknowingly become Daisy's biggest weapon. Now here's where the theory gets really interesting. I don't think Daisy's mission is just about survival anymore. I think she's beginning to influence Agnes intentionally. Not through manipulation, exactly, but through exposure. Agnes is becoming curious about the outside world, curious about freedom, curious about disobedience. And Daisy recognizes it. That's why she doesn't completely shut Agnes down during their conversations. She plants uncertainty instead. Little cracks, little questions, little possibilities. And in Gilead, ideas are more dangerous than weapons. Because once someone begins questioning the system starts losing control over them. And honestly, The scariest thing about Daisy may be this. The eyes still think they're hunting rebels, without realizing one is standing right in front of them. Why other infiltrators keep failing? Let's circle back to the biggest question. Why are the other infiltrators getting caught while Daisy survives? I think the answer is simple. Most infiltrators are trying to beat Gilead. Daisy is trying to understand it. That's the difference. She respects how dangerous the system is. She doesn't underestimate it. She knows one wrong move could destroy her. And because of that, she stays disciplined. The others panic. Daisy adapts. The others resist openly. Daisy resists quietly. The others focus on fighting Gilead from the outside. Daisy survives by moving within its structure. And that makes her incredibly effective. The bigger theory, Daisy is becoming exactly what Mayday needs. By the end of episode 7, it feels like Daisy is evolving into something much bigger than a simple undercover operative. She's becoming a long-term weapon against Gilead itself. Because she's doing something few people ever manage to do. She's learning how power works from the inside. Not as a commander, not as an aunt, but as someone the system completely underestimates. And those are often the people who change history. Ending. Episode 7 makes one thing very clear. Daisy isn't surviving by luck anymore. She's surviving because she's smarter, more patient, and more emotionally controlled than almost everyone around her. While other infiltrators collapse under pressure, Daisy adapts to it. And that might make her the most dangerous person currently inside Gilead. Because the eyes are searching for obvious enemies. But Daisy? Daisy has mastered the art of becoming invisible. And sometimes, the most invisible people are the ones capable of bringing entire systems crashing down. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more of the Testament's theories, breakdowns, and episode analysis. Because things in Gilead are only getting more dangerous from here.